Remember yesterday?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another COVID-19 call. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and I'm honored to host this daily conversation as we hunker down in New York. I started by calling it Let's Shoot the Breeze, since we can't shoot the virus, but it's morphed into something which gives me a chance to talk to people around the world about what's going on in our lives. We are hunkered down in different cities, and we can come together once a day in this kind of conversation. This is all ahead of our social media weekend that I'm hosting this Saturday, and I'm hoping to see many of you there. If you can't afford a ticket to social media weekend, get in touch with me, and I'll be happy to tell you about volunteer opportunities. Today, we are calling this our Life in Europe edition. So let me reveal to you our speakers from partly in Europe and partly in the US. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Sree.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so let me introduce everyone. That's me, Sree, in the middle. And to my left is, or I don't know, yeah, that's my left, your right, I guess, is Clara from Turin.
Hi.
And on this way is Zach in Prague.
Hi.
And this way is John Lee in New York.
How you doing?
And over there is Neil Parekh in suburban DC. We're just so grateful to all of you for joining us, for being with us, taking time out of your day in different parts of the world. If you're on Facebook right now, can I ask all our speakers to just go onto their Facebook, find my post and share it right now, my tweet and share it right now. So my personal profile on Facebook, my personal profile on Twitter, my personal LinkedIn, etc. You can just share it. Neil's going to do that as well. Let's exponentially increase the number of people who can see this. We're also, while you're doing that, I'm going to explain this technology we're using. It's called StreamYard, and Neil has perfected the use of it on our Sunday New York Times read-along, which is a weekly gathering of people around the world, thousands of people who join us on Facebook Live and LinkedIn Live to talk about the print New York Times. But we've also talked about the Washington Post, the Globe and Mail, the Bergen Record, etc. So I'm going to ask Neil to just tell us a little bit about this technology, and also to tell us about a big United Way initiative that he was part of the launch team this morning. He's been up since 6 o'clock working nonstop, and it's a big public rollout and has to do with the coronavirus. So we're going to have him speak to us first, and then we're going to go to our guests, and we're going to talk about life in Europe and what's happening, and also life in America, clearly. I also want you to know that I have my Milano shirt on that I received from the city government in Milan when I went out to do some work there a couple of years ago. And I have a love affair with Italy, as many of us do, and of course with Ireland and the Czech Republic. These are all wonderful countries that we're going to hear about. But let's start with Neil.
Well, thank you, Sree. I really appreciate it. And again, as Sree mentioned, my name is Neil Parekh. And by day, I work with United Way Worldwide, which is the world's largest privately funded nonprofit. We have United Ways in 1,800 communities in 40 countries around the world, which gives us a unique vantage point to respond and to support communities affected by COVID-19. By evening and weekend, I am the executive producer for Sree's Sunday New York Times read-along. We're live every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, often with special guests. And in particular, we're going to be hosting Social Media Weekend on Saturday, as Sree mentioned. We were planning on doing an in-person event in New York City, but because of the social distancing, because of the restrictions that we're all putting upon ourselves to keep everyone safe, we're going to do this conference completely virtually online. We're going to be using this great app called StreamYard, which is what we're using right now for this conversation. And we started using this for the New York Times read-along back in November. the reasons that I love using it, and if anyone's interested in learning more, I'm more than happy to share offline. There are a couple things. One in particular is that it's really easy to bring on guests. As you can see, we have people from around the world joining this conversation. Zach in Prague, we have Clara from Italy, John and Sree from New York, etc. But it's really easy to bring on people. They don't have to have a Facebook account. They don't have to have a particular platform. It's just a link that they have to log into. While we're doing that, as Sree showed, we can show graphics on the screen. We can show banners at the bottom. So, for example, we can have tickers that go. So Sree has something around his daily COVID calls. We can show, banners that cover a little bit part of the screen and make us a little bit smaller. But as I mentioned, if I'm happy to help people explain StreamYard. But the other thing we can do is that we can actually share our screen and show content off the web, whether it's a video, whether it's a website, any content like that. So, for example, what I'm going to do is right now show you a little bit of the project that we were working on this morning. United Way.
Neil, I don't know if we lost you there. I think everybody else can just wave so we know you guys are still there. Neil's video is paused for a second, and we'll come back to Neil as he fixes his tech issues. I'm just going to remove him from the stream there for a second. And this is a really powerful service, folks, that lets you stream on all these platforms at the same time. But let's get going and talk right now to Clara, who is with us from Turin, Torino, as they say in Italy. What's life like there right now? Where are you right now?
I'm at home. I haven't left home since Sunday when I last went to the supermarket. It's surreal. It's strange to be at home and trying to get a normal life because I'm working from home. But at the same time, you don't leave, you don't see people, you don't interact, you don't get fresh air unless you go into the balcony. It's very strange because life goes on its normal way, and the situation outside is not normal. So you can barely hear cars on the street or people, or then suddenly, for example, today at 3 p.m., someone decided to start playing the national anthem and the Ave Maria, and it was beautiful, but it's very strange.
And how far are you from the city center in Torino?
I'm in the city center, a couple of blocks from Piazza Castello and Piazza San Carlo, which are the main squares. So there's normally a lot of people here. Normally, that's not the case.
And part of the issue is that so many people have died in Italy, right? And the case numbers and the percentage of death, the mortality rate is much higher than people had expected.
Yes, it's around, if I'm not mistaken, almost 10%.
Yeah, 10%.
Of the whole amount of cases. Overall, we have had 31,000 cases as of today. They release numbers every day at 6 p.m. So these are fresh numbers. There were 192 people that were cured over the last day and 342 deaths for a total of 2,500. So it's a lot of people.
Yeah, out of 30,000 to have that many deaths is, and that's why Italy, for a lot of us, seems to have taken extreme measures, and before almost any other country outside of Asia. Anything else you want to share before we move on? And we'll come back to you, of course.
Yeah, so they initially tried to contain it in the cities where it started or where they had the most cases, and then it moved from cities to a whole region, the Lombardy region, and then some provinces. And it quickly escalated because people were not staying at home. And people from Lombardy, when it was announced that it was going to happen, that the region was going to go in lockdown, people started to move around and travel to other parts of the country. So the only way that they have managed, or they are trying to manage, to reduce the numbers is asking people to stay at home. Actually, they have making a lot of checks on the street to make sure that people who are on the streets are either going to work or going to the doctor because they have an emergency or going shopping. And they're actually finding people who are not supposed to be outside. And now they have added jail time to those that are supposed to be quarantined and are not.
And so that's how do they know? I think you told me a few days ago that only one person is allowed out of the house at one time. How would they know if two people are from the same house or from different houses?
I don't think they will find out unless, as is happening, people go outside together. And that's how normally, people are family or anywhere. They're not supposed to be together. They do checks. You're supposed to carry a document that you compile yourself. And then once the police stops you, they verify that what you're saying is true. So they have released 3 of those documents. The new one was released today. And so you're supposed to carry it with you all the time. It sounds very Second World War II type of thing.
Right. Well, thank you. And folks, if you have a question for her, you can type it into your Facebook feed, or if you're watching on Twitter, we will see the questions and we'll come to you with them. Her Twitter handle is Clara Martinez T. Clara Martinez T. I'm just going to put her handle here on the screen so you can see Clara Martinez T. So please do tweet at her, follow her. She's sharing what's happening there. Let's go to Prague right now in the Czech Republic. This is our friend Zach. Zach, where are you in the Czech Republic and what's happening there?
So we live in kind of like the first village outside of Prague, like just south of Prague. I lived in Prague for about 12 years, but we moved out here last spring, and don't know how lucky we were until this happened. So the situation here is actually, it's kind of like we're Italy plus a few days or minus a few days, whichever way you want to count it. So we had the problem actually when it started happening there, because it really started in like the ski resorts in there, and there were lots of Czechs there. And when the outbreak started happening and they started like kind of canceling and closing stuff and worrying about it, a lot of Czechs went there because tickets were like 20 euros. It was nothing, and they're actually stuck there now. But some of the first cases here were actually brought back from there by Czechs traveling. But we've been on lockdown. Like, they canceled school. They shut down schools for something like 2 weeks, and then it changed to 30 days. That was like last week. Now we're under lockdown. The borders are closed. We're in a quarantine. Like, you're really not supposed to go anywhere. You're not supposed to gather. You're not supposed to do anything. There's a few villages that are closed, like in Italy, where they're really blocked off. You can't go out. One person can go out, stuff like this. Out here, it's okay. Kind of where we are, we're like a 15-minute bike ride from Prague, but we're really in a village, and we have a little store here. Stores are open. Pharmacies are open, and some essential services things are open, and they're doing special hours for seniors now in the morning and stuff. There isn't a lot of checks. Like, it's not really checking. You have to have a mask on. Public transit is still running, but you have to wear a face mask. You basically have to have a face mask on if you do anything in public. But we've been isolated now as a family. I have 2 kids. So we've been basically in isolation since like last Thursday or so. We've been out in the woods every day trying to get outside. It's a little bit crazy. But yeah, it's very surreal. It's very surreal. Like Clara said, it's this very weird thing where it's like you wake up in the morning and your whole day is just like, now I'm working still because I work from home anyway. So the challenge for me has actually been that now my day is a lot more structured than it used to be because my kids are home. And so I'm kind of principal and head teacher and assistant teacher at times. And then I'm also trying to work, which isn't normally how my days would go. And it's been interesting. It's been very exhausting, and it's Tuesday, when we're feeling it, we're starting to feel it. But, we've been trying to talk to our kids, they're 9 and 5. We've been trying to talk to them like adults about it. And they seem to understand that it's an extraordinary situation and stuff. And, like everybody else, we're just trying to kind of make it work. I say this from a position of privilege. I mean, we definitely can afford groceries, and we have a bit of room here. We have a garden, so our house extends, and the weather is nice. If the weather wasn't nice, I don't know what we would do here. But it's very, very surreal. It's just Prague right now. Last year, or any year I've lived here, Prague right now is teeming with people. Is just boiling over with people. There's probably too many people here usually this time of year, and it's just a ghost town. And it's really something. It's really something. It's really odd. It's just an odd feeling.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm just going to put on the screen this chart that show. I don't know if all of you can see the deaths in Italy and Spain are increasing much more rapidly than they did in China. I'm just going to remove this banner here so you can see. 1 second, just so you can see these numbers, and you can see where China is. You can see Spain, the rate of increase. Italy, the rate of increase. Clara, can you see these numbers?
Yes.
And are people talking about this in Italy about the? We keep hearing about the curve and flattening the curve. It sounds like it just went straight up.
They have been trying to get the numbers down. Actually, I think there were 5 or 4 cases less than yesterday. They're definitely saying the peak hasn't gotten yet.
Right.
Because we have had a lot of cases up north, and now they're expecting more cases south. So we still don't know what the situation is.
So let's give credit to John Byrne Murdoch. He's at J Byrne Murdoch, who made this graphic for the FT. You see his handle right on the screen. And
he's been doing this for a long time. He's really good at this. And it's interesting. I just wanted to add, because what Clara said, that they're still peaking. And this is what we have in Prague now, or in Czech Republic just generally, is that because we're behind Italy X amount of days, we don't have that many cases here. I think it's still 400-ish or something, but it's like the increase now is it's doubling. It was doubling every 3 days. Now it's doubling every day and a half. And pretty soon it's going to be, it's clearly the kind of from this, tomorrow and the next about 7 days are going to be probably pretty challenging here, I'd say.
Okay, thank you, folks. If you're just you're watching, we're about 20 minutes into an hour-long conversation that I call my daily COVID-19 call. Today is the Life in Europe edition, and we have guests from Prague, Turin, and you're about to hear somebody who can relay to us what's happening in Ireland. Before I do that, I want to bring the co-host and executive producer of my New York Times read-along. Every Sunday, we read the New York Times. That's Neil Parekh over there. Neil, what should people be doing if they're watching this right now? We're using this tool called StreamYard. How can they help get the word out on this? Because we're on multiple channels. We're on Facebook Live, my personal Facebook. We're on my Facebook closed first personal group called Sree's Advanced Social. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. So Twitter, there's a lot going on.
Absolutely. And I want to acknowledge some of the people that have been leaving comments in Facebook. A number of people joining from Poland, Dobbs Ferry, which is near my hometown in New York. But in particular, what I want to do is to just call out for people who are watching, in addition to sharing it on your Facebook page, on Twitter, if you're watching through a Facebook group, this is how your comment comes across. We can't see your name and picture, so we want to make sure that we do that. That's why I had this banner up. If you're watching in a group, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and just give StreamYard permission to use your picture and name. And so then we can see who's commenting. For example, we can see Maria Gorshin and her comment about New York City local and state parks, because she's watching through Sree's personal page. But if you're watching through a group, we can't see your comment, your name, and your profile picture. What I want to share, and I want to just talk about the platform as I started talking very briefly in the beginning. But anyone who's interested, we're always learning and we're always teaching. Sree was mentioning that I had been working this morning as part of with United Way to launch a community response fund. And I was just about to show you the website that we worked on when the system crashed on my end. And I see Sree came off. When the system crashed on my end, the reason is because when you're doing live streams, you need to clear your cache, you need to clear your RAM so you can do your broadcast. So whether you're using Zoom or StreamYard or any tool, it's always a good job to clear your memory so you can share that. That's what happened to me earlier. I tried to share something and had not cleared what I was doing. So I'm going to try that again. And with any luck, I'll be able to show you the website. It came up right away this time, which is good. It's the United Way's, our COVID-19 Community Response and Recovery Fund. We are, as I mentioned, we work in communities around the world. And this is something, it's not just a healthcare issue. It's the economic impacts that we're concerned about. People are going to be feeling the impact of this from everything from businesses closing, people in the gig economy, children who are not getting meals in schools. So this is something that United Ways around the world are responding to, particularly in local communities in the U.S. We have international partners as well. Korea, Japan have set up funds. We have a strong presence in France, a strong presence in Eastern Europe as well. This is something that's affecting everybody, and we're looking at this call as serving dual purposes. We're trying to learn what's happening in Europe and make this a global conversation, because this is a global pandemic. It's not just something happening in the U.S. We're also trying to show the platform. As Sree mentioned at the top of the hour, we're doing Social Media Weekend as a virtual event using StreamYard, using this platform. So one of the things that we get to do, as I mentioned, is highlight comments from people who are watching. We have Mara joining us from Toronto, Chad joining us from Dallas. We have several people, Renata joining us from Caracas as well. So I just want to highlight some of those comments. John, I don't think Sree had a chance to go to you to share your, right?
Yeah, before we go, I just want to say it's St. Patrick's Day, and in New York, this is a big day, a banner day every year, and there is no St. Patrick's Day parade in New York, and we're so sorry about that. And that's why I thought we'd ask John, who is my connections to many things Ireland, and he's made me an honorary member of the Irish digital community in New York. He's the president of the Irish Business Organization in New York, and he wrote a very heartfelt, beautiful note just today to everyone. It was called St. Patrick's Day Like No Other. So, John, thank you for joining us. I know you're in close touch with people in Ireland. And so if you would start by maybe telling us a little bit about that letter, how you came to write it, and when did you all make the decision to cancel the parade, or was it taken out of your hands compared to other cities?
Well, I wrote, usually about this time each week, we send out our e-blast to members, usually more in terms of promotion, what's coming up, sign up for this. Shree's going to be our speaker next month, in theory, sometime. So we try to, it's more of a promotional thing. But this time around, I thought we needed to say something different. And I sent the e-blast out just at about the time we would have been walking up Fifth Avenue in the St. Patrick's Day parade. The Irish Business Organization might have had 80 people, all wearing this sash here for the IBO, the blue, and taking part in a really historic event. And I think it's an event that people of any immigrant community in America can relate to, because I think the Irish were the first to kind of put that pride out there for their nationality and kind of like get used to it. We're here. And I think it's been a model for a lot of other groups in the country to follow. But, there could have been 150,000 marchers today. There could have been upwards of 2 million people lining the streets. And about this time last week, the parade was still on, but it was looking increasingly like not a good idea. So the Irish Business Organization moved first. We canceled our post-parade party, which seemed like the worst environment for the contagion. So we canceled our party, and then about 12 hours later, the parade was canceled anyway. It was obviously the right decision. 2 weeks ago, it didn't look like that was the right decision. Today, it's how could there be any other decision but that? It absolutely makes sense on every level.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I know how difficult it is. Please follow John. He's John Lee Media on Twitter. You see everyone's Twitter handle: Clara in Turin, Zach in Prague. He's got his branding down right, Zach Prague, and John Lee Media. Tell us, how does an organization, not just you, the parent organization that runs the parade, how do you bounce back from this? What about the insurance costs? What happens? Like, there's so much money building the floats and
Sure.
all of that. Talk about that, please.
Well, yeah, we are a member of the parade in that we march every year, and then there's a quite an organization that runs the parade. And we actually had the chairman of the parade board as our speaker a couple of weeks ago, laying out what the plans were. It's one of those things that the parade's March 17th, and March 18th they start planning for next year's parade. So in trying to stop this, it's a bit like a freight train. There is so much momentum driving to the finish line. To try to stop it, it seems almost inconceivable. But cooler heads prevailed, and the word everyone is using is postpone. So there's still hope that later this year, when times are better, we'll be able to have that parade. And Ireland was the first mover there. All parades for St. Patrick's Day were canceled in Ireland before they were canceled here. And Ireland has closed down all the pubs the day before St. Patrick's Day. So pretty good indication of how seriously they're taking it there.
Is it Ireland without pubs?
It's Ireland without pubs.
Is that possible?
It's Italy without espresso, and I'm not sure what the specialty of Prague is, but and just to mention to Clara, we've followed the scene in Italy extremely closely here. As my wife's sitting from Lombardia. She's from Voghera, which is a little bit south of Milan, so quite a hot zone. So we're watching the scene very, very carefully in Italy.
Yeah, thank you. I know we have some questions and some comments that have come in. Neil, if you want to just walk through some of the comments and questions and just bring those in. I'm going to actually do something that I should have done before, which is find my charger for my laptop. For those of you who have young kids like Neil and might be feeling constrained by having or constricted by having all these kids at home who are under 12, 13 and are feeling like, boy, this is really crowded. Nothing like having two 17-year-olds who also have conference calls, who also have plans and all of that, and arranging this small apartment so that we can each have the better conference call facilities has been complicated. So I've somehow, in the process of my day, lost my laptop charger. So I'm going to find that while Neil takes over from me here. Thanks, everybody, for participating. Please keep hitting share. Tag your friends on Facebook or in any other platforms. Hit share. Let's get more people seeing this. Thank you, and I'll be right back.
Great. Thank you, Sree. So one of the comments that came in, our friend Chris Gorman shared that apparently in New York, there was just an announcement that people should anticipate, and I assume it's a call to shelter in place, which I know that in San Francisco, they had issued that order, I think it was yesterday or the day before, for people over 65. So that's something that we want to take note of. John was sharing that his wife's cousin and husband live in Milan. Jonathan is joining us from the East Village. And just looking at for if there are any specific questions, Tom is saying they've called up the Army, particularly partially to build field hospitals, trying to get ahead of the curve. That's one of the things that we know that, the concern is in terms of flattening the curve. It's not just a question of the number of people that would get sick, but it's the ability of our, healthcare infrastructure, our ICUs, to handle that influx. If they can't handle the influx of patients, it's going to get much worse. Rose was thanking us for hearing about United Way's plan. Thank you, Rose. And as I added it after I'd finished speaking, so I apologize, John, that it was while you were talking about the St. Patrick's Day parade. But the website for United Way's Community Response and Recovery Fund, the full site is unitedway.org/recovery/COVID-19. You can also go to unitedway.org/COVID-19 That's the shortcut that we have. Here's a question for Clara. A reporter said that the high infection rate in Italy may be because many families have older generations living with younger ones. Have you heard that? Can you speak to that?
So Italy does have a lot of older generations. Not everyone lives with grandparents, but there is a lot of people that do. The situation is Italy, it's an old country, so there is elderly everywhere. So it's not a matter of a fact of only having people live with you, it's having elderly people around. And they're the ones that go to the doctor every single day, that go to the pharmacy, that go to the supermarket. So again, you have a lot of elderly moving around. Well, we used to, because now they have been asked not to move from home. So,
sure. We have Jigar watching from New York, Barry watching from Toronto. We have a happy St. Patrick's Day for everyone, not just John, but everyone's Irish on St. Patrick's Day, right, John?
Absolutely.
Even Yankee fans.
We'll make of course. I had to think about that one.
Who else we have? As I mentioned earlier, we have Rao watching from Poland. Certainly an international show. I'm trying to see who else, if there are any other specific questions that we should get to. And so we're just scanning through, but folks are just checking in from New York. Peggy is interesting. Peggy is heading back to Taiwan tonight. So that's one of the things. International travel has certainly been restricted. I know I saw a friend of mine who was trying to come back home from Chile and was hoping to get ahead of any restrictions in travel from there. So Sree, there are no other questions that really have come in. But again, sharing these comments from Facebook. If you're watching on Periscope, on YouTube, you can also ask questions. And for folks who are watching on LinkedIn, just a quick note, after the show, Sree will make it a point to come back into the LinkedIn live video to answer any questions that you may have. One of the challenges with StreamYard is that we can't automatically see the questions coming into LinkedIn in the way that we can see the questions from Facebook and other platforms. So that's going to be a little homework for Sree after the show.
Right, absolutely, and I look forward to talking to my friends on LinkedIn, folks. I see that Mara's asking, what's a call to shelter, or what is shelter in place, and what are the differences in all of those things?
Well, we addressed that earlier. It was more. Chris had shared that New York City is expecting to announce a call to shelter in place shortly. And that was just he had written call shelter, so she thought he was talking about something else.
Got it. And did we get this question from Chad to Zach? How is testing being handled in Prague?
So the Czech political situation is kind of like the prime minister here is like, he's not a Donald Trump type, but he's very much in the kind of populist right of center types. He's not a super popular guy. Testing here has been very suspect. They say that they've tested something like 6,000 people, I think, as of today or something like this. But there are tons and tons of reports. I'll put some stuff on Twitter later, and Sree, maybe you can retweet it. Like, there's some very good Czech journalists who tweet in English about new stuff, and there's been a lot of there's people with symptoms. They're setting up these drive-up centers now. They're just starting to set up the drive-up centers now. I don't know if there are any immediately in Prague, not that I've seen, and there hasn't really been much of a problem with that. But it hasn't been great. It hasn't been a great experience. They have not done a exemplary job of testing, from what I've heard and read and stuff. But it's kind of like the whole thing where there's only, I don't know, I feel like everyone's working with like half as much information as they should be, and then they're talking about it, which is, I mean, I'm from rural northern Minnesota, and my Facebook feed, I usually don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, but I have recently and I've we've gotten in fights. Actually, we've had fights with friends even who a week ago, 2 weeks ago, weren't taking this seriously when we started to. And it's been a test, and I would say like there's tests for like the disease and the virus and things like this, but it's also been like an information test, and it's not passed. The checks aren't passing for sure. From what I've seen, America isn't doing great either, and that's been the hardest part, is separating fact from fiction in a lot of ways, and a lot of people going for tests who shouldn't. For example, who actually shouldn't. People still going to the hospital for basic stuff when they're asked not to. Things like this. It's been more of an information problem. That will change.
I see
soon.
that. I see Alicia Marie says that her husband works for Amazon warehouse in Michigan. He received a thank you message from the company and a pay raise to keep showing up for work. It was well worded and a great example of quality corporate communications, internal communications. Neil handles internal communications at United Way. He writes a daily email to 13,000 people. And I can imagine that at these big companies, finding the right tone to strike with your staff is really important. Facebook had an answer. They just gave everybody $1,000 that they announced today. Every employee gets that. Many of their employees do not need $1,000, but I'm sure there are lower level folks who could use that, the non-engineers, people like that, who, the receptionists, the guards, people like that. But it's just fascinating to see how different companies are responding. And Alicia says it basically means don't leave home for any reason, stay home. And then, she's explaining what shelter in place means.
Yeah.
And then, Jonathan is adding here. Let's see if we can get his on the his comment that
So I'm gonna I'll step in, Sree,
talking about how
we're
to
having
prepare for this possibility and what that means. So a unusual time. I know Zach said that America probably isn't getting a passing degree, and
I was gonna take Sree off. I think we're having trouble with Shree's connectivity. Sree will log off and log back in. That might clear things up. It may also help, Sree, if you restart your computer to clear your cache. But what Jonathan was explaining, and this is the issue that's breaking news in New York, and we'll see what we can find in terms of details. But apparently there is a plan to issue a call to shelter in place in New York. And that's, like I said, something that other countries have done already. Isolation, San Francisco has done that earlier. John, can you talk a little bit about this shift? Over the weekend, you had a number of people going to the bars and restaurants, and I think that was Tuesday morning today that they were supposed to close. That Mayor de Blasio's order. Hoboken had closed them the day before.
Right.
Are you seeing that shift? Are people starting to stop going out, or do you think people are still socializing? And we'd lost John, I guess. Let me bring him back in. John?
There we go.
Sorry about that.
I was going to say it has fallen off dramatically. Places are closed. Places are open. Takeout. I went by a place where the food, you have to order it online, and it's sort of left in this little foyer, already paid for, so no one touches anything. There's nothing that changes hands. And some businesses are reducing their hours. So I did have to go into the office yesterday. I was definitely had social distancing in an office space that might handle 200 people. There were about 10 people there. So that social spacing was not a problem. And I just want to mention one thing, Neil. Sree had talked about this letter I sent to the members, and instead of promoting, we've started our own kind of information source of good business tips for businesses, where to get a loan, what's the various small business departments saying, what are some of the ways that businesses can manage and cope in this time. And I'd love to add your information to that from the United Way. I think that'd be
That'd be great. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. What I want to do is take a moment. Mara actually found the CNBC article about Mayor de Blasio. And I want to say great minds think alike, because I was doing the same thing while she was doing it. So what I'm going to do is actually go back to sharing my screen, and we'll just take a look at that real quick. It's apparently in the next 48 hours is when this order is going to come. Sree, you tell me if we have time to watch the news clip real quickly, whether it's worth sharing with everyone. I will go ahead and do that. Let me bring that back. So let's go and share the audio, and let's just see what the mayor's announcement really is about. And this is, again, the beauty of being able to use StreamYard. We can show video in the middle of a show.
Nobody wants to pay for
Of course, we have to deal with an ad.
It's time to say bye to the bundle.
So we'll just wait for the ad to go through. Again, this is StreamYard at its finest. And let's go ahead and show that
Now
video.
I want to talk about a question that's on everybody's mind, and that is the issue of shelter in place. This is a reality that is being talked about because this crisis continues to grow. We are all deeply concerned about the direction and the trajectory, even as we get new information daily and hourly, and we're trying to better understand the specific trajectory. Quite clear, this is a fast-growing crisis. In my view, I think the right guidance to give all New Yorkers is, even though a decision has not yet been made by the city or by the state, I think New Yorkers should be prepared right now for the possibility of a shelter-in-place order. It has not happened yet, but it is definitely a possibility at this point. I believe that decision should be made in the next 48 hours. And it's a very, very difficult decision. I want to emphasize that. It is difficult anywhere in the United States of America. It is particularly difficult in a city with such a large population, so densely populated together. But I think the point has come where that decision does have to be made. We will be communicating closely.
So I think folks got that and heard the mayor's message. So the detail is that there's no order yet, but in the next 48 hours, we should get a New York City shelter-in-place order.
And Clara, listening to that, that's very similar to what you have, right? You already have this. You're ahead of us in that sense. What was the reaction when people heard that? Did they go out and buy things again extra before they, how did that work exactly?
Well, it was strange because it was first announced, as I said, for a province, the Lombardy province, and 14 provinces, a region and 14 provinces. And people outside of those areas didn't take it seriously. And so it became sort of like a joke, like, oh, you're not supposed to go out, but we're going skiing. Or look at us, look at how we go out and we find things. So people really didn't think that it was going to escalate that quickly, because the decision was taken on Sunday, a week from now, at 3 a.m. in the morning. What happened was that the news got the information before around 8 o'clock, and so people started freaking out in those areas. And then by Tuesday, it was for the whole country. So people really didn't think that it was going to happen to them that quickly. Because I'm originally from Venezuela, to me, it was like, okay, this is happening. I need to prepare. And so I went to a supermarket and got meat and things when people were not thinking about it. So it was like normal business. Now the issue is that if you go to the supermarkets, you have to wait outside. They allow a few people in. But the reality is there is food and there is no shortage of things. So you can calmly go, just be prepared to wait.
Yeah, we have exactly the same. We have exactly the same here. It was because it was kind of the same. It was like they announced the lockdown, the country lockdown. I think it was on Thursday last week, like Wednesday night or something. And so there was like an initial rush, and pasta and rice were all gone and everything. But then even the next day, it was pretty calm. Like I got up in the morning and went, and it was like perfectly fine. And then they announced the quarantine over the weekend. And it was kind of the same on Sunday, but not even really all that bad. And now it's exactly like you said. We have exactly the same. Supply chains are fine. Logistics are fine. And if you go to the store, you might have to wait, maybe. But no one's like getting in fights. There's plenty of everything. No one's hoarding, really. You don't see. I haven't seen any like horror stories like that at all here, actually, which is super nice and kind of surprising. But it's been I think everyone's still in this weird, it's just this weird feeling. It's like it's not like you're drowning, but you're gonna drown or something, where you're just like, oh, this is weird and scary, and just, it's not natural to not be around people all the time. And then just having kids. I mean, I don't know how many parents are out there watching this, but turning into principal and math teacher and English teacher, we have bilingual kids, so it's like their school's in Czech, but then they're learning English there, and then I speak English with them, obviously. So like, it's just been a complete, and nobody here is under any illusions that those kids are going back to school here this year. I don't see that happening.
So Zach, just to follow up on that, and as I think Sree mentioned earlier, I have a 7-year-old. Yesterday was our first day. Schools were closed on Friday, unexpectedly last week. So that's just a Friday. We could deal with that. One of the things that I heard, I read about, I think it was in Brian Stelter's email, Reliable Sources email. The first day of isolation, of sheltering in place, is kind of like the first hour of an international flight. You have your books, you're ready, you can do it. But then after that, it starts getting a little bit harder and harder. My comment, I saw a friend of mine comment on Facebook that, and my wife and I approached this idea of Emily being home. Okay, we're going to do homeschooling, and my wife is going to be the teacher. I'm still working, so that makes it challenging. And that was the plan for the first day, but my friend's Facebook post said, you know what, we shouldn't try to do homeschooling. We're not homeschoolers. We're not teachers. Now is the time to do home nurturing, to home cuddling, to spend quality time, to talk with your kids, to listen, to see what's going on, to experience things. If they do learn something, or if they can keep up some of the math and English, certainly, but to not over stress about it.
Well, this is a fundamental difference between America and Europe, is that we have a very normal social system over here. So parents actually raise their kids. So like both of our kids have been raised by their parents instead of by kinder care, and then a nanny, and then daycare, and then preschool. And we actually get to spend more than 2 months with them. It's crazy. It's you should see it. So this is the thing, is like, I mean, we're not like, I don't have like the whip and the ruler out and doing it like that. But the thing is this is disrupting my personal life, because we had a plan to do this anyway here, which we don't know how that's going to go. But, we're not like cracking the whip, but our son is 9, so he's in 3rd grade, and the school has been very, very good. They set up like Google Classroom and stuff, and they're not like, they don't have a workload or something, but they're like, do the work, and I'd say it's like maybe 40 to 50% of like a normal load or something. They don't have homework or anything. They never do anyway. So it's like, it's not so bad, but it's, we're like, we have breaks built in. And if you follow me on Instagram, you can see how we're trying to entertain my children and where to take them. But this is like, America's so cruel with parents and their children. That's half the reason why I live here and haven't moved back, is because I love the idea of parents raising their kids. It's great.
It's interesting you mentioned the resources from your school. I think this may have caught so our school was planning a Monday for teachers to come in and figure out how to do distance learning if they had to. And then we had a case nearby, and they shut down the schools, and no one could go and pick up computers if they needed, et cetera. But the message we got from our principal was, we are not going to be sending out lesson plans or homework, anything like that. Don't ask your teachers for assignments or material. There are some resources on a website. My daughter had learned to code in the last 2 days, which is incredible. Pam and I are loving watching this. But there's some resources they can have access to, but we're not getting anything in terms of lesson plans or content. We're looking for things. For example, the Cincinnati Zoo is doing a live stream every day at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to tap into that. She found a website that has fun exercises and dances that kids can do to kind of recreate the movement that they do in school. So
Yeah,
I feel like
I
we're
don't
on
know
our
if Clara, are they in Italy? Are they doing this? I know like the state broadcaster here, like Czech television or whatever, they have from 9 till noon every day. They have basically like first grade, second grade, third grade on TV. They have like a teacher doing normal stuff. Are they doing stuff like that in Italy? How are they handling that?
It's very interesting because Italy, it's a little bit behind when it comes to tech, even internet access. And so, but because kids have been here home for a month, and so in theory, that's supposed to last at least until April 3rd, but they're already talking about moving it after Easter. Teachers have been sending homework to kids, and so parents need to download it and make kids do it. Italy, it's a country where they send a lot of homework, even during summer break. So I thought it was interesting that a country that normally has issues with e-learning and technology actually moved to it very, very quickly. They don't have programs on TV, but they do send homework. So kids are constantly having to do something daily.
Let me just go to John, as a New Yorker, fellow New Yorker. These are all non-New Yorkers at the moment watching us, but obviously lots of New Yorkers watching. How do you think we're going to handle this going to shelter in place? And talk about your office, because you're part of a very big, important organization that works with lots of clients. How are you handling your work?
Well, I'll mention on the education front, we have a daughter in college, and she was home for spring break from a college in Ohio. And we knew it was coming, but we got the word last night that the semester is over. It's e-learning from here on in, and then at some point we have to get out to Ohio to pick up all her belongings. Do we do it this weekend, which seems completely counter the sheltering in place, or do we wait till May and maybe she needs some of the stuff that she has in her dorm? So that's a whole different challenge, with a 19-year-old now. Thought she was home for 2 weeks, and she's home for through the summer, it looks like. As far as our company, we work with a lot of companies who I do public relations, and most of our companies are now all working from home as well. So we typically work off a lot of conference calls anyway. It's just that now my colleagues from my company are not sitting around the table. We're all calling in, and the pace of business actually has been pretty sharp, pretty high. Several of our clients have people who can offer a lot of commentary and insights into coping with COVID-19. For example, a law firm we work with has people who can talk about the data privacy implications of people working from home, the health implications around like telemedicine and privacy. Really almost any kind of angle you can think of. We have some good spokespeople who can offer insights and are getting picked up and quoted quite a bit. So it's actually been quite a busy time for us.
Robert Anthony, who was a guest on my show day 3, now we're on day 5 of our daily call. He says, glad to see the feared bandwidth bottleneck from all the students suddenly going online didn't come to pass this week. It looks like most US internet providers have the time to scale and tweak their networks. It's not perfect, even we're having hiccups with this video conference, but it's not bad. Thank you, Bob. He's at New York Bob on Twitter, and so you should definitely follow him. He's always got great insights. And if you go back to the archives on YouTube, you'll see his show, and he had lots of great tips. Folks, as we start to wind up here, I'd like to go to each of our guests and have them give us some tips about getting through what are some breakthroughs they've had in their own either day or personal or work related tips that they want to share, because I think a lot of us surviving all of this is going to be about learning from each other. So if you're online, please share some tips and we can go look at that later. But I'm going to start with Clara. And a reminder that I'm wearing my Italy shirt, my Milano. I don't have my Torino shirts, but I do have my Milano shirt, and thinking of everyone in Italy right now. Over to you, Clara.
So the first thing is take it seriously. Learn from us Italians who didn't take it seriously, and look where we are. And then as far as tips, if you're going to work from home and stay at home, which is not, I'm staying home now, but normally I go out, is try to have some sort of a schedule, even is, dressed up, even if you're staying home, because it's like, okay, I'm staying home, I will stay in my pajamas. But then try to do something normal that feels normal to make your day a little bit normal. Because again, the situation is very, very interesting. Talk to people. I mean, phone call, email, tweet, whatever. You don't need to isolate yourself socially. And yeah, let's try to get the best out of it, because I don't know when this is going to end. So let's see.
Okay, well, thank you. That's Clara. She's on Twitter, Clara Martinez T. You see her Twitter handle right on your screen. Please follow her. And now you have a friend in Turin. And when things are all better, we can all meet either in Italy or here. Clara, I wish you the very best. And thank you. I know you're joining Social Media Weekend this weekend. You're going to be tuning in. You bought your tickets. So you're going to participate. And that's all about feeling like we're all learning and working together, and about making, doing things. I just want to share, my daughter made a quarantine to-do list for herself. So you can see all of us are trying to find a routine. Clara, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Let's go to Zach in Prague. Zach, what do you have to share?
Well, the same. Please take it seriously, because it's serious. And just be like, my biggest thing is really just be careful what you share. Just if you share, look at this thread, look at this thing. Like, I think there's too much of that, and it's like, even if it's some esteemed epidemiologist or something, it's like, if that's not a person like really on the ground close, it's not a person who knows. Because even the people who are on the ground close to it, because I'm reading about this Sree, we've known each other for a while. You know what I'm like. I've been reading a lot, and even the people closest to it don't know what the denominator is. They don't know what the mortality rates are. They don't know actually what the deal is with kids. If they're hyper, they're shedding virus for 3 months, or maybe it's a week, and nobody really knows. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, it's really funny, Carl, you say like the get dressed thing, because everybody who's worked from home, who just normally works from home, like I've worked from home now for 5 years, is like, nope. Getting dressed is everybody. I guarantee anyone, if there's any work from homers watching this, like, yeah, no, I'm not getting dressed every day. That's not going to happen. My thing is like, just be ready to adapt. Like, if you're new to working at home, it's like a whole new thing, and good luck. When I went freelance, it took me a year to figure it out. But now it's like, it's still changing. Like, now this is such a complete variation into my normal workday, where I usually have a good, like, kind of 7 hours, no kids, no nothing, where I can really get my work done at my pace. And that's just not going to be the case for the foreseeable future here, because I really just don't think my kids are going to go back to school. And be creative, give those kids, like, we're trying to keep them in school and keep them doing stuff. Our daughter goes to, like, they both went to forest preschool, so they were outside all the time anyway, so they're somewhat feral. So it's kind of easy to just shove them outside and let them do their thing in the yard. But, find that time for your, like, to get yourself okay. I think that's been the toughest thing, is like realizing that we're going to be like this for a good few weeks. And it's just not going to be going to have a beer with friends, and it's not going to be grilling, and it's not going to be playing baseball and softball tournaments and stuff like this. And, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. And it's like you said, call people, talk to people, take the dog, put the mask on, and just go. somewhere and just be willing to do that and willing to own your time, because it's just going to be a very strange thing that not many people who are alive participating in the active economy in the world have gone through, and I think and we just don't know. We don't know anything, and it's tough, but it's true.
I think that's a big point that Zach has made a couple of times, that we don't know, and almost nobody knows. Even Dr. Fauci doesn't know. Or yesterday I did a global phone call with the top epidemiologist out in Hong Kong, and even he says he doesn't know, but he did say something that was chilling to me, that this new normal is likely to be this way for the better part of this calendar year. For those of us hoping it's through this summer or through the early summer, that's going to be a bit of a shock. So we hope he's wrong, but it's unlikely that he would get it that wrong. But again, we don't know. So I want to thank Zach for joining us. Zach is a wonderful writer and editor who's based in Prague, and part of his the way that he's been able to sell his services to a lot of people, we do a lot of work together, is that he's in this different time zone. He's not in America, so has a different perspective. All of that was always helpful to him. Now having this distance and being outside of Prague has also been an advantage. So good luck, Zach. And
thanks a lot.
I know I'll be talking to you pretty soon anyway, but good luck.
Yeah.
Let's go to our friend John. John, I was hoping you could maybe give us a few of the sentences you wrote to make people feel good this St. Patrick's Day. I see a lot of people from Ireland watching, including @Tweeting Goddess.
I'd love to see
from Ireland. Yeah,
she was a speaker for us very recently. So
yep, she's terrific. Yeah.
So I said around this time of the year, many of us would be turning up the corner to begin our march of Fifth Avenue behind our IBO Grand Marshal Niall O'Leary in the historic St. Patrick's Day Parade, and then stroll a few more blocks to our festive post-parade party. Big plans laid low by something too small to see. It's not too often that we say on St. Patrick's Day, these are sobering times. So I think my emphasis.
I got chills hearing that.
Thank you. I think my emphasis here is, we've talked about the health and the social isolation aspects, the business implications. This is going to be staggering business implications. You can't think of a business that's not going to be impacted by this. And a lot of the folks in our organization, the Irish Business Organization, are going to be hit quite hard. A lot of entrepreneurs, sole practitioners, self-employed people. So our motto is network, communicate, and reciprocate. I hope that communicating was in the letter. The networking is we'll probably have to talk to Neil about getting this platform going for the IBO. And the reciprocate is kind of paying it forward at this point. We want to come up with ways to help keep our members whole, solvent, and to get through this thing in one piece.
Whole, solvent, get through this in one piece. That's I think all of us who work with communities around the country, around the world are looking for that. Thank you, John, for that wisdom. And good luck to the organization. And I know we'll be talking about ways we can do stuff together. I loved my time in Italy. I loved my time in the Czech Republic and even the old Czechoslovakia, but I've never been to Ireland. And you and I were in the midst of talking about doing a social media tour of Ireland last year, this year, next year, and all of that. Of course, as you said, plans laid low by something too small to see. Really beautiful line. And that's how you know John Lee Media on Twitter. He's a writer. I hope you'll follow him. You'll follow Zach Prague on Twitter and Clara Martinez T on Twitter. I want to also give them a chance to step away if they want to carry on with their evenings, especially our friends in Europe. Or I know John has a lot of emails to get to, so you folks can say goodbye. Neil and I are going to do our closing here, but you're welcome to stay if you would like to. Otherwise, you can say goodbye and we'll go. So Clara, shall we let you go?
Yes, I have mom duties, so I really need to go.
Me too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. 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 Thank you, folks. Thank you, John. And Neil, that was another great show. Shows you the power of this medium that we can bring people together. What are your tips? You're on day 2 of homeschooling with your wife and your daughter. If she's around, I'd love to say hi to our princess Emily.
I'd love to bring her in, and I'll just have to open the door real quick. Give me 1 second, Sree.
This is the opposite of the the British diplomat who had his kid come running in. We're actually going to go get the kid to bring her in. Thank you all so much for watching. I know I need to clean up a little more of that backdrop there, but I'm so grateful for all of you for coming, for watching. Social Media Weekend is this weekend. We're going to have a fantastic all-day conversation. Please take a look on screen. Pull out your phone, take a picture so you know where to go to get the information. If you can't afford a ticket to Social Media Weekend, it's just $99. If you can't afford it, let me know. We can either get you a volunteer opportunity or we'll give you a discount, whatever it takes to help you learn. Our motto is always be learning, and that's what this session is about. Every day I'm doing this, every day a different topic, different group, but at the heart of it is bringing people together. And speaking of which, we have now a special guest.
Unfortunately, we don't. I'm gonna get my sister, who was all excited because we were hoping to get Emily on. My sister is watching. Hi, Amy. And she thought she tuned in at the right time. But Emily is doing what she should be doing. She actually went outside. So she's out in the backyard with my wife, with Pam, with her mom. But yeah, I'll just acknowledge that we almost had that moment. One of the things that I've done when hosting the read along is that I've tried to, after one time when I had her, when she was, I was hosting the show alone, and she was needing my attention, and I got a little frustrated. Every time after that, I've always brought her on screen. I've had her read the poem once. I've had her say hi in the beginning and the end. This time, Sree, because we were talking about such a serious topic, I waved her off just for a moment, and I missed that opportunity. So that's my loss, your loss, that you don't get to see her. But that's one of the things that we have to learn. It's a new normal for all of us in terms of not just working from home, being with family, balancing our time. I'm working even harder now than I had before with all the work that we're doing with United Way. And we need to figure out how do we get everything done and still stay sane. This is an article that I saw yesterday. This is these kinds of times really will show what your marriage is made of, show what your family is made of. And it's okay to disagree, is what the message was that. You're going to have different opinions. I think the message in that was really to make sure you know that with your spouse, you're both right. We have different ways of dealing with the stress, with the anxiety, with the concern. Some people really want to watch all the news. Some people don't want to watch all the news. So we just have to figure out how to work with each other more closely. The one thing I'll say, Rose is glad that Emily is out playing. I wish I was out playing. It's actually warm today. My takeaway is going back to the very beginning, learning new tools, figuring out how to make the most of the tools in front of us. StreamYard is a great tool for bringing people together from various platforms from around the world, for sharing comments on the screen, showing video. A lot of people are using Zoom. A lot of people are using Uber conferences, what you've used in the past. I think they each have their pros and cons. Where people are using OneDrive and Google Docs in ways they haven't before. I guess the thing I would share, and what I've seen, what I've read a little bit about, is that this may be a longer term experience than we're expecting. It may not be just a few weeks or a month. I think you mentioned that it was in the show that you did yesterday with Dr. Leong from Hong Kong. And I shared a link to the tweet to find the video at Stefan's request. See, Stefan, I did see the comments, and I did acknowledge that way up. Let's see if I can find that. There we go. So Stefan had asked, thinking that I was helping to produce the show, that I can drop in links at will. I had to do it from my phone, but I was able to quickly find a link to the tweet. So if you're interested in watching that video, go there. But I think it was Dr. Leong that said that we may be in this situation for several more months. At some point, we did our grocery shopping. We're good for, I would say, at least a month if not longer, for food. We don't have to go out, but at some point, we're going to have to go back into the grocery store to pick up a few items. We're blessed. We are celebrating 1 year in our new home. We have an extra fridge. We have a garage. We have space to store things. And frankly, we have the financial wherewithal where we can put out extra money to stock up, not stockpile and hoard, but to get some extra pasta and extra rice and extra sauce. And not everyone is in that situation. So I'm going to make another plug for United Way's fund, our COVID-19 fund. It's at the bottom of your screen. We launched this today, particularly to help people who can't afford to stockpile, can't afford to, who are going to be out of work and are not getting paid. There are kids who are not getting meals because they rely on their school system for 1, 2, or 3 meals a day. So United Ways around the world, Korea, Japan, throughout the United States, are stepping up. And I would encourage people to look at the work that we're doing and see how you might be able to help in your community, because there are a lot of people who need that support.
All right, Neil, thank you so much, everybody. Follow Neil on Twitter. He's at Neil Parekh, Parekh. He's terrific. And every Sunday, he helps executive produce the Sunday read-along that he and I do together, the New York Times read-along. And we have an epic guest this week, Stephen Greenhouse, the legendary labor reporter for the New York Times, will be our guest, 8:30 to 10 a.m. every Sunday. But this Sunday, it'll be Stephen, and he's going to be discussing the New York Times and discussing all the stuff happening in the world, including what's happening in the labor market and to folks who are working in this country. That will also be a topic of Nick Kristoff's presentation with Cheryl Wu Dunn, his wife. They've written a book called Tightrope, Americans Clinging to Hope. And we just had a conference call, StreamYard session with them a couple of hours ago just to prepare for Saturday. So as part of Social Media Weekend, they're going to be speaking, and we're just delighted to bring them on the show and for this conference. So if anyone who's interested, you can take a picture of this and join. The tickets are just $99. If you can't afford it, one of you just wrote to me saying you can't afford it, you want to volunteer, let you know. We can also give you a discount code if you absolutely need it. And we're still looking for sponsors. So if you have any organization, company that wants to get in front of 200, 300, 400 folks who are doing this kind of digital work, here's your chance. Maybe you're hiring somebody, maybe you're looking to announce your product. Social Media Weekend would be a good place to try and do that. So let me know. I'm Sree at Sree.net, SREE at SREE.net. And I look forward to hearing from all of you and seeing most of you, I hope, on Social Media Weekend on Saturday. And we're going to use StreamYard, and Neil's going to be driving, so it's going to be a much better show than when I'm doing this because there's a lot going on. He's been producing this for several weeks now in this fashion. Now, before we go, I just want to share a couple of thoughts at the end of, not really the end of day 5 of my broadcast, because I work with people in Hong Kong and Asia. They're going to get up now, and we're going to start working late into the night, and in the morning, again, we'll be working. And I want to say that I'm very blessed to be in this position where my work can be done remotely, when not just that, there's even some people who look to me and other folks to help them at this moment. So it feels like a lot of what we've been doing all these years has led to this moment. So I'm very blessed to be in that position, but I know not everybody is. And I want you all to know that I'm here to help you if I can. And please email me if you need help, you're working on something, you have some ideas, let me know. I also want to do a shout out to my family who can hear me because I'm talking so loudly. I also my wife got me a new microphone that I can use. There's an old-fashioned like Larry King microphone, but it works beautifully. That's what I'm using now to speak. It's from AKG. She works at Harman, the great audio products company. So it makes sense that we have great audio products. And so I'm grateful to her for getting that to me. I also want to say to my family and to all your families who are watching, who let us do all of these online things in the middle of everything else that's happening in their lives, that they're letting us do this, participate. And they know that one of the things we can contribute to the world are these online collections of people and gatherings, and that's why they're letting us do that. We haven't yet negotiated how we're going to do Saturday. If I have to be here all day on Saturday, how we're going to do it. Maybe I'll jump in and out of my son's bedroom. We don't know. We're also lucky that we have more than one bedroom and we have space. So we are really grateful. At each of these sessions, I've been pitching one idea to everyone, and that is, if you are in this position where you have a few weeks off from going to the office, that means you have, even if you're working from home, you have less of a commute, you have some free time that you didn't have before. I have 12 hours a week of commuting that I'm not doing that I used to do before. So what I suggest is think of a digital project, a digital idea, some kind of passion project that you can test out right now on the internet, because it's so easy to do. And there are people like me and others who want to see you practice things. Maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a blog, maybe it's something else. Jump in, practice, test it out, and we're here to help you. Look at this. This casual conversation on day one was just a bunch of people talking, and now we're live on 5 networks, and journalists are watching around the world. It all has become an example of what is possible if you experiment, try new things. The Sunday New York Times read-along was just something that just kind of flew by on a whim. And now 5 years into the read-along, we now have paid sponsors. So I'm very grateful for that. And my saying is that if you wouldn't do something for no money because you love it so much, but you say you love it so much, but you're not willing to do it for no money, you won't be able to do it for all the money in the world. And that's my lesson from all these years of building companies, building nonprofits, building startups, building digital products, that the passion is the hardest thing to find. And now you have time and you have that passion already, so I hope you'll try it. I'm Sree, Sree at Sree.net. My Instagram is SreeNet. My Twitter is @Sree. And I'm learning every day. Please let me know how I can help you. Sree at Sree.net. And thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to just throw on screen here one more time. I think Neil wants to say goodbye. Go ahead.
Yeah, before we leave, I just wanted to, this person who is commenting from Facebook, will there be an email with information about logging into Social Media Weekend? Our plan for Social Media Weekend, again, is going to be an online-only conference. And if you've already registered for the conference, we will be sending a follow-up email with the instructions on how to join. We will be streaming all of the content into a special Facebook group. And each section of the agenda will have its own video, and we'll have instructions, links at the top for how to watch each of the videos. One of the things that you'll want to do is go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give StreamYard permission to see your face and your profile picture and your name, so that when you comment, we'll know who you are. So I just want to make sure that we covered off on that. And again, we have a number of people who've been watching today. So thank you, everyone, for taking the time. And Mark has a podcast, Mark Lee. I would definitely encourage you to use StreamYard. One of the things with StreamYard is great is that you can download the recording after you do the video. After you do this via video, you can download both the video and an audio-only version of the conversation. So, Mark, that might be helpful for you. You can also go onto StreamYard and record only. You don't have to be live into any particular platform. So, again, if anyone is interested in StreamYard, please feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to talk more about it. My email address is neil@neilparekh.org, and you can find me on Twitter at @neilparekh. And again, Shree's information, his email is sree@sree.net. His Twitter is @Sree, and Instagram is @Sreenet. With that, we can call it to a close.
Yes, absolutely. And I just hit end broadcast, and it ends on 5 different networks. It's really
Yeah.
amazing, really cool stuff. So I'm just hitting end broadcast right now. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Nope, not yet. I have to hit the second button.